Jake, in games where you, I mean, like last week, against other offenses you know are going to put a bunch of points up, probably this week too, do you have to call games a little differently? I mean, just press the pedal even more?
Yeah, you try to at times, but there's also times the element of slowing it down if you can get control of the game. I thought we did well at times in the first half, where we got 31 points. That where we struggled the most was that third quarter. The third quarter is when we sputtered, and at that point you start searching. Like you start calling plays based off of what's going to work, what you believe is going to work, what direction. We had a couple of 3-and-outs in that third quarter where you come back to the sidelines and you're like, all right, scrap that set. Let's move on to the next thing. What's going to be something that's going to be efficient to get the ball out in space, or something that can maybe get the run game popping more efficiently at times. But, I thought Oklahoma State did a really good job at matching us up. I thought their DBs were very talented. We knew there was going to be a challenge ahead with that, and I thought they did a really good job at defending us.
Jake, this was the fourth third quarter this year where you guys were scoreless. Is there anything you can attribute that to, or is it just an oddity?
God, I bet you there's a lot of things if you look at it and study it that you can put it to. But that's something that we've got to do better at is starting fast when we come out of the half, because I think that typically that first drive, those first few drives of that third quarter is going to set the tone of what the game's going to be like moving forward. And when we struggle in the third quarter, we typically are in a dogfight. And that's something that we've addressed. We all know that. You're getting down to the last game of the season right now where it's more about, we got to get ready to play and make sure that we're putting, we're having a good week of preparation and making sure that we're getting ready to play Oklahoma. That's how you got to move forward with it.
Do you have to do like some sort of mental trick to make them think it's the first quarter or something? Or?
Yeah, we've tried all that stuff. I know Coach Holgerson's big on that too. Like even when we are playing teams where you have a huge halftime lead, Coach Holgerson is big on putting that first unit out there to start the third quarter, just to get them in the rhythm of, coming into halftime, having that break, and then coming out and starting fast. And, that's something that I think all coaches across the country are searching for on ways. I wish I had a solid answer for you, but you address it with the kids and you put an emphasis as much as you can on it, and you go from there.
Statistically, I think they're right around the same as before they made the switch with the defensive coordinators. But have you seen many changes out of this Oklahoma defense since McNeil took over?
Yeah, there's a lot of. I think they're playing extremely hard for him. I do. I think that they play complementary football with their offense. They're going to play. They're not going to. It's a bend don't break defense at times because their offense is pretty explosive. And the thing that I'm seeing with them right now is they're playing a ton of different bodies. I don't know if Dana went into it in his part, but they're playing different DBs. Like their linebackers are playing DNs. They're moving them all around right now, and they set a lot of people out in the Kansas game. So we're expecting them to be full force when they come in here.
Played a lot of quarters coverage. Are they doing a lot more 3 deep now? Is that right?
They're doing I still think that they're kind of playing with some things. They come out in Kansas State and TCU and they're playing quarters. Come out versus Oklahoma State with quarters, end up playing the majority of that game in cover 3, and come out versus Kansas and play man majority of the time. So I think they're kind of just finding a balance of what's working for them and getting these kids in the right position. There's certain guys that they're comfortable with. I think they're just moving a lot of bodies around, and we're preparing for all of it. So we got to be ready to execute. I think after the Oklahoma State game, I wouldn't be afraid to man us up either. So we'll go from there.
Was that disappointing?
About the physicality of the defensive backs. Is that the MO now, playing your receivers, to be real physical with them?
I think that's the MO anywhere. If you want to have a pretty solid defense at times, you got to be aggressive. You got to be disruptive in their route running. When you can get the timing off, when you can get those receivers a little bit rattled where they're shortening routes, because there's an internal clock. When you got a guy that's up in your face and he's battling you, and you've got to get to a certain point at a certain time, a lot of those kids, it's human nature. They're going to naturally cut that off and they'll be shorter with their route concepts, and that causes timing to be off. And, that's what you see a lot in the NFL. You're going to see those guys try to be as disruptive as possible within those 5 yards, because in the NFL, that's as much as you can touch them. The DBs can touch the receivers, so they got to be disruptive at that point, and then they just got to match from there.
The last couple of weeks, there have been some running backs that have had some success against Oklahoma. Your guys have kind of been coming along those same lines. How important is it to get off to a good start and get that running game established this week?
I think it's the most important thing we got. I think we are better as an offense when we establish the run game. And I think Kennedy, you look at that first drive versus Oklahoma State, he's hitting a 14-yard gain and a 20-yard gain, and that's when you saw the offense move the most effectively. And, when we aren't at our best offensively is when the run game doesn't pop like we want to, and we only get the 1 to 2 yard gains. And, you force it again and you only get 1 2 yard gains, and then you get into a long third down. So we've put the emphasis on making sure that we can establish the run game, because overall that's going to keep us on the field longer, and that's going to make us more effective in the long run.
Jake, you're from Oklahoma, right?
Mm-hmm.
What is Oklahoma football to a kid growing up there?
It's kind of hard with my standpoint, because I was a coach's kid. I didn't have an allegiance to any of the Oklahoma schools. My whole family went to Oklahoma State. My brother coached at Oklahoma. It was more of just, you don't have an NFL team either. You're more of just, a fan of the game. And Friday Night Lights in Oklahoma it's a pretty special deal. And that's what I grew up doing. My dad's a high school coach, and that's something that's always held dear to my life, is the Friday Night Lights of Oklahoma. But when it comes to college football, there's never been really an allegiance to me. But a lot of my, teammates in high school, they would, turn down Division, 1 AA or Division II scholarships to go walk on at Oklahoma or Oklahoma State. Where my parents told me, you better take the 1 AA scholarship right now, or you're not going to come back to the house. But that's just how that state is. It's a very prideful state, just like West Virginia. Those local kids love to play for their state teams.
What do you remember about the recruitment of Kyler, and is he playing even better than you could have imagined?
I think Kyler's playing exactly how we thought he would play. It was an interesting time. He was the guy that I put all my eggs in one basket on. If I didn't sign Kyler Murray at Texas A&M, I probably wasn't going to take a quarterback that year. Special player. He was 43-0 as a high school starter in the state of Texas, which is the only guy to ever do that. Very rare. But a very dynamic kid, obviously. The thing that made him special is his ability to make plays, extended with his feet. He's probably one of the fastest guys on the field. I always enjoyed watching him play high school. It's when our time at A&M, we put him in a situation where he was young, and we threw him right into the fire. And we packaged him up, and I thought he did a good job. But after our time at A&M, we all needed a fresh start. And I went to Cal, and he went to Oklahoma, and it's kind of a similar story of what Will went through. Both of these two kids that are going to play this Friday, it's kind of a testament of overcoming adversity and kind of staying out of the limelight when they're used to it all through high school and at the beginning of their college careers. And then you take that 2-year lull where you kind of just got to, stay away from the limelight. And then now they're out there kind of doing what they've always done. And it's pretty impressive to watch both those kids playing at a high level.
Personality-wise or skill-wise, knowing both of these guys, what are the similarities you see in both of them, and I guess what are some differences?
They're both very quiet of nature, and I think they're very confident in themselves. When you talk to both of them, when you hit those times of adversity, they have the confidence to stand back up and bounce back and go back out there and attack the next moment and the next opportunity. Will is more of a pocket passer. He's a little bit bigger, but don't kid you wrong. Kyler can do that as well. But what makes Kyler so special is his ability to extend plays and kind of make those ESPN top 10 moments where he's running one direction and throwing it the other way, or hitting an 80-yard touchdown run down the sidelines. You know, that's where Kyler was, his ability to run. I think Will is very good at staying in the pocket, understanding when he needs to make that play, and managing the game. And I think what makes Will very special is his accuracy. I think he's one of the best I've seen. That throw at the end of the game versus Oklahoma State, the 2-minute throw, that's one of those you talk about, the Texas throw with Gary Jennings. The one at the end in the 2-minute to Oklahoma State to Gary was phenomenal as well. You know, very accurate. So they're two special players. They both are different in what they do, and they're both kind of electric in the way that they do it. And I think that's why it's going to be a fun game to watch this weekend, this Friday.
Is this the best head-to-head matchup you think you've seen at this position? And you've seen a lot of good guys.
God, you know, it's got to be up there. I think there's a lot at stake for them in their future of like all these awards that they're up for. You know, I think Friday after the game, you're going to figure out who's going to be the lead for one of those awards.
Hey Jake, I don't know if the language is that they took them away or they did a better job against them, but it seemed like Oklahoma State accounted for Wesco pretty well.
They did.
Which maybe is new, or maybe they've just done it better or differently, but I guess what did you see from them, and conversely from your offense, as what maybe didn't work as optimal?
Yeah, you know, we always have those plays. You know, like I've said in the past few press conferences, is you've got to get Wesco involved. And you know, we started off the game where the first play was designed to him. You know, the next two plays after that were pretty much designed to go to him as well, but they covered it. And you know, that's why you have RPO-oriented plays. But what they did, they accounted for him. They rolled the guy over the top of him. They played man and made sure that we couldn't get any of those cheap yardage. And when we have that ability to get some of that tight end pop passes in play, it makes us a pretty explosive offense. You know, the one that we hit in the third quarter that kind of sparked our momentum, or that was fourth quarter, that sparked our momentum, was a play that we just said, just go ahead and ride it and force it. We knew it was going to be a very tough throw. That's why he one-handed caught it and, you know, made a 43-yard gain off of that. But I thought the overall factor of the game was they covered us up very, very well.
What about the run game, though?
Run game, I thought we had our moments where we were doing a really good job. We did. And then you get into the third quarter and it wasn't popping as much as you would like, you know, which as the freedom that you give Will, and you give him a lot of opportunities to hand the ball off or throw RPOs, he started to kind of lean to the RPO side based at times when the run game wasn't working as effectively. That's just the gray area of how the game goes.
I actually meant Wesco in the run game. It just seemed like he usually moves guys out of the way, and I don't know, were they bigger, better, stronger? One play outside, they just took him out for that play Will got did.
Yeah, they, you know, I thought they just had a good plan for it. You know, they made us play laterally at times, and you know, they did a very good job at changing up their fronts. They played odd fronts to four-down fronts, and they moved in and out of it, you know, sporadically. And I wouldn't say that they were just more physical than Wesco. I just thought that they made us blink a little bit, but just by all the different looks that we were getting.
The Wildcat was a big part of your offense a year ago against this team. Tempted to go back to it again?
Really not in those circumstances right now with having Will healthy, obviously. But after watching the Army game, that might be the best thing to do. You know, that was kind of one of the more fascinating games I've ever watched, was the OU Army game this year, where I think it was 38 plays of regulation that Oklahoma had. I felt like it's just not very many drives, and Army was going for 10-minute drives in like 3 quarters. So maybe that's the recipe to beat these guys.